Today on Homeworthy, we're stepping inside the Minnesota home of content creator Sapphire Anderson. As a new mom caring for her twin boys, Sapphire dedicated herself to thoughtfully curating every corner of her home with thrifted treasures and sentimental pieces. The result is a cozy, peaceful space that beautifully reflects her family's cultural identity and heritage. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Sapphire Anderson. Welcome to our home in Red Wing, Minnesota. Let me show you around. Hi, my name is Sapphire Anderson and welcome to my family home here in Minnesota. I live here with my husband and our two little twin boy rascals who are 2.5 years old. I'm originally from Trinidad and Tobago, but I grew up in Idaho when I was 7 and just kind of moved around after that. Lived in Florida, Chicago, which is where I met my now husband, Tyler. And now we're here in Red Wing. When Tyler and I were in Green Bay, we wanted to move closer to his family. We came to Red Wing and we actually only looked at 3 total homes, this one being the very first one. We walked through it and after about an hour said, this is the one. So this is our entryway. This is honestly one of my favorite spaces in the house, and it is obviously the first space that we saw when we walked in, aside from the front porch, and the staircase alone had us blown away. The woodwork, the banister, the spindles. When we first moved in, there were some awful stair treads on there, carpet treads, but we have since replaced them. It's one of my favorite spaces, and it's because I get to showcase a lot of fun pieces that are dear to me and that I've just collected from Marketplace or thrifting, like this console table. It's pretty hefty. I'm not quite sure where it's from, but I did get it on Marketplace for a bargain. And it just, holds regular entryway items. This I like to call my candle drawer. I always love lighting candles throughout the day, especially at night. We don't turn on a lot of lights, so I really enjoy having smell goods. This typewriter is very, very old, and we actually got it from my husband's sister-in-law. It was her grandmother's, and unfortunately she is now passed, but she had some really beautiful pieces, and she asked if I wanted this, and I was like, yeah. So that sits right here. Behind is a photograph of James Baldwin. He is everybody's uncle. He is an incredible writer, activist. And our boys are actually named after him. So it's really special. And it's actually kind of fun. I didn't do this on purpose, but I set him here, and then I originally had this in the front room, and then I changed it and put it right in front of him. It just kind of, it just kind of is really sweet. So I've got some books that I've ordered from eBay, lots of eBay ordering lately. I really love ordering books from eBay just because most of the time they're in pretty good condition and a bargain. You can find really beautiful designer books for a quarter, less than a quarter of brand new price. On top here, I have this really beautiful antique African mask. And I actually stumbled upon the company who sells the mask, who actually are no longer in business. And it's crazy how it happened. I was just searching for masks and came across their website, and it said going out of business, and their prices were slashed to the max. So I searched and searched and searched, and just really, I don't know, I fell in love with this one. I love the earthy, I mean, obviously a lot of African pieces are earth toned, right? But this one, I love how it's mostly dark, almost black, and then the eyes kind of like glow. And if you look really, really closely, he's kind of like, his grill is showing there. So I thought that was kind of fun. Next to that, I have this really stunning ceramic vase. It's from a friend on Instagram. She is a ceramicist in the Portland area, I believe. Her name is Karma Ferrier, and she gifted me this beautiful piece. She asked me, what kind of style I wanted it to be, and I really love like vintage pottery pieces. I love the urn shape. I feel like the urn shape is a very antique shape. Here's another little, or I shouldn't say it's little, but it's mighty. It's pretty hefty. This solid wood bust, African bust. And this was also an eBay find. I'm not quite sure who made it, but it just spoke to me. Like, I feel really empowered just having it here front and center in the entryway. So I kind of like her sitting behind the hydrangeas too, kind of peeking through. This is another one of my favorite pieces. So I found this on Marketplace and my best friend picked it up for me, and it's just so funny because when you're really into Marketplace, you will go to the lengthiest length there is. And I'm not afraid to ask a friend to pick things up, but yeah, she picked that up for me. It's just beautiful alabaster. In a couple places in the house, throughout the house, we've got a really beautiful stained glass windows. I actually base now a lot of what I bring in off of the colors that are on the stained glass, which is terrifying and exciting at the same time. I really love seeing people's homes filled with color, but I'm always so nervous about doing it in my own home. But I feel like having a white base and then, pulling in the random bright colors is always a good way to go. So up here on this bottom landing, I've got this really stunning print. It's by a Black artist that I found on Instagram. Actually, this is interesting. A lot of Black people, like in Africa, they will twist their hair like this to stretch it out, and they bind it with like some sort of like string, a tight string. And yeah, that allows it to kind of stretch out when it's wet, and then once it's dry, it stays that way. But yeah, I just love the rawness of it. It's not, her hair is not done up and glamorous. It's just her and her hair. I know this is, I wouldn't say it's controversial because not a lot of people in the States even know what it is, but I believe it's called a portiere, and a lot of people in Europe have them in entryways or right above doorways, like a front door, or just any walkway or pathway that brings in a lot of draft. And to be honest, it does kind of we do get a little bit of draft in this front room and then the entryway a little bit because the house is so old, right? But yeah, I just love how bold it is and unique. And I just luckily had a random rod, and it just drags over like this. It allows me to bring in some pattern and some color without having to, drench a wall and then be terrified about it and then have to paint it all over again. This mirror is definitely a statement piece, and it is the very first, I think, maybe the second, if not the first, thing that I got off of Marketplace when we first moved in 2020. And yeah, it was a whole whopping $25, and I couldn't believe it. This bench I actually recently got a couple weeks ago. It's actually a pair. The other one is outside waiting to be sprayed, but you can still kind of see where I missed, but it was hot pink. And I feel kind of bad that I sprayed it because the person had sprayed it right before she listed it, but I couldn't do the hot pink. So I just sprayed it matte black and thought that it would pop nicely. The cushion on here is actually a cushion from a couple chairs that we had outside on the porch, and which we no longer use, and it's literally the same size as the seat. So bonus there. But I just love how, wrought iron really just makes such a chic and bold statement amongst other pieces that may be softer. So when we first moved in, right off the bat, it seemed perfect. We weren't looking for a really big fixer upper or anything like that. But as the months and then a year or two moved on, I started tinkering with plans to kind of shift things around aesthetically. No knocking down walls or anything like that, but we did knock down the kitchen cabinets. So I guess there was one knockdown, but we updated the kitchen, and that's really the biggest project that we've had. The other big thing that we've done is probably just paint everything white so that it was nice and bright versus the kind of dim brown tan situation that was going on when we first moved in. This is my sacred space. This is my most favorite space in the house. When we first moved in, my vision for it was exactly what it is now, a library situation. But we didn't call it the library until recently. It's just because, design takes time, right? It's seen a lot of different furniture and styles, but what it is right now is here to stay. So I just really wanted to elevate it even more. They say the trick to making a space feel bigger and taller is to bring things all the way up. So we actually just raised these bookshelves, and the ceilings in here are 9 feet tall, but it feels so much bigger now, and also at the same time like a warm hug. This is where I sit every single morning. If I'm not outside on the porch, I'm in the chair here in the corner, coffee, and I've got all my design books here. We've got books about racial justice. I've got some Black romance books that I'm really excited to jump into. And yeah, obviously we've got a shelf or two for the boys. They have to have their own space too. I think this is something, I don't want to say rare that people do, but not a lot of people do it. They hang prints or just things in general on the face of their bookcases. But I just think it's so unique and it makes it stand out more. And it's also a good way to hide empty space until you can actually fill your bookcase with books. But I think even after like I get more books for behind here, I'm gonna leave it because it's just so, I love the gold, the old gold frame makes it pop. But I found this on Marketplace and it is an antique painting. I'm not sure who it's by, but it's just really beautiful. I love, it's almost like impressionist style. And a lot of those paintings are very dark, very dim. And I love that. It's definitely a mood. Over here, this sofa, oh my goodness. I spent months and months and months just going back and forth on whether or not to get this one or another one or find one on Marketplace that's vintage because I really love vintage and antique pieces. But it is a modern piece and it's from Lulu and Georgia. It's their Fabian sofa and it's absolutely perfect. I actually really love the modern box, somewhat slope arm here at the back shape of it amongst everything else, like all the antique and vintage pieces that we have. It's just it's super cozy. And it's honestly, it's the boys, their favorite spot to jump up and they'll, it's really sweet. They look out the window and watch the cars and the garbage trucks go by. On the floor, we've got this stunning vintage Bokhara rug that I found on eBay, and I still can't believe I found it because these things they're hefty and the price is hefty too, but I made an offer, which is something that I stand by. I always make an offer on things. I follow somebody on social media who specializes in vintage and antique rugs, specifically Bokhara rugs. And I sent it to her. She asked me to send her a photo of like underneath the rug just to see like the thread count. Yeah, tell me how old it is. So if you're ever interested in how old your rug is, just look under it. I think you have to like measure an inch area and count the threads in it, which is kind of tedious because they're very, very tiny. But it's worth it. I think it's really fun and comforting knowing that like this is a hand knotted rug. Like how cool is that? A lot of library spaces nowadays and way back when have an office section in some part of it, and I really wanted that in here. I don't work from home, or my husband doesn't work from home, but I do think it is good to practice sitting at a desk to be on the computer or to write a letter or something like that. But I wanted something old, antique, vintage at least, and I found this really sweet desk that this family used as a kid's project desk. So the top of it is actually wood and it's covered in like hot pink paint and blue and yellow, all sorts of scratches and dings on it. And there were different knobs on here, but I changed them out with some hefty brass knobs that I had laying around I got at like a restore one year. And I believe the legs on these are what they call barley twist legs. And I just think it's so fun. Like, it adds texture and makes it more fun instead of, these clean, straight, boxy lines. So the top, I went back and forth on whether or not I wanted to sand it down and refinish it, right? But then I was like, no, that's another thing that I love is old pieces as is. Like, as is pieces, just they tell way more history than bringing them in and stripping them down of their stories and memories. But I did decide to at least cover the top because the paint marks weren't doing it for me. But I found this marble slab, which was actually a coffee table. And it was about a foot or two wider. And our contractor, he cut it down for me to size and then placed it on top of the desk so that it wouldn't, he caulked it. It's not going to move. It's just perfect. I love the sheen. I love the white. It enables everything that I have on here to pop and stand out. These two sitting chairs are a dream come true. Honestly, I just kid you not, I just picked them up like 3 days ago. I drove an hour and a half to get them in a very small town, kind of similar to Red Wing, actually, a river town, Austin, Minnesota. And they're from a family. They live in an antique home as well. And they've had these chairs for almost 25 years. They moved in 2000, I think they said. And they have them in their bedroom. They have several kids, so they've seen everything. They've been through the ringer, but they are so incredibly sturdy. Like, they don't bud. The bones are incredible, and it just amazes me every single time I pick up, an antique piece and it's in immaculate condition, because it's like, how old is this thing? Before they had it, the wife said that she got it from her principal. So who knows how long he had it, and who had it before he had it. So, but yeah, I just love how they're matching and they're just the right size for in here. It's not really, that big of a room, but I love the conversation that it will bring and then it does bring visually. So yeah, and on them, we've got these verdure, I think that's how you say it, verdure style pillowcases. So I found these pillowcases on Etsy from a lady in Wisconsin. Her Etsy shop name is Pillow Talk, I believe. Kind of cute. I am obsessed with French verdure tapestries, textiles. But yeah, this is my safe space. This is my safe spot. Having a safe space is really important to me, and how I went about doing that was just including things and styles that represented me as a Black woman, as a Black human being. Stuff like I've got some African pieces. I've got a couple Trinidadian pieces, which is, near and dear to me as I am Trinidadian. So off of the library and also off of the entryway is the dining room, and it, I believe, is the largest room on the main floor. I love that it's centered, front and center from everything else. I have had a lot of fun just imagining what this space could be, and even, going through a couple different versions of what I thought it would be. But this is the current situation. It's super fun. So this table, I am just so obsessed with. I really love antique pine tables, stripped pine specifically. But unfortunately, those are more common in Europe, which is fine. One day I'll get there. But until then, I found this on Marketplace for an incredible price, and it was actually like orange when we got it, and just like 2 or 3 inches wider. So we sat with it as is for a while until I figured out what I wanted to do with it. And I stripped it all and sanded it all, the edges, the turned legs, which was a lot of work, and a tiny sander. But I stripped it and sanded it, and then actually lived with it stripped for a little while longer, and then stained for it that I wanted, stained it, and it was still a little bit off. It was like reading like too gray for me. And then I found a company called Fids and Sons. They sell their waxes on Amazon, and the finish is a wax. It's a wax polish that you actually only have to put on once. Like you put a goop of it on the table and you rub it in, and then you just rub it in a little bit more, and that's it. And within 30 minutes, it's already cured, which is like gold to me, because, a lot of stains and finishes, you have to wait like at least half a day or 24 hours to be able to, use it or have water on it or whatever. But this wax is amazing. These chairs, these Windsor chairs, are kind of special to me, actually. So these I also found on Marketplace. 4 of them I found on Marketplace, and they were from a lady all the way in Wisconsin area. I think she's in the Green Bay area. So obviously that's super far away. I've never driven that far to pick anything up from Marketplace, but one day I shared them on my social media, and I was like, oh my gosh, these chairs are amazing. Gosh, it's so far away. And I received a message from just a beautifully gracious human being who lived in the Green Bay area, and she was like, hey, I am going to be in the Twin Cities area next week. How about I pick these up for you and meet you and call it a day? And I was like, no way. And at first I'm like talking to Tyler and my mother-in-law, like, is this weird? What's going on here? And, I realized quickly that it's actually a Midwestern thing. The Midwestern nice is definitely a thing. Over here in this wall is our hutch, and it's very interesting because this is actually not a dining hutch. It's an antique cupboard is what they would call it, 100 years ago. Or wardrobe. It used to have doors. You can see like on the sides here, there are old nails in here, and then where the hinges were. The only thing I thought of was glassware. Like, I just love crystal clear glass against old antique pine or oak. I just think it's just so beautiful and classic. But yeah, we did not do anything to it. And it's also another piece that's just structurally sound, incredibly sound. Like, it just doesn't, it's mind blowing how, these old pieces were built. This is one of my favorite pieces. It is a French Tian bowl, and it is, I'm not sure how old it is, but it's definitely antique. I found this one on eBay, not Etsy. And it's another piece that I had just been searching for a long time for. I promised myself, when I want something really special that is antique or vintage, I'm not just gonna get, I'll make a dupe or find a dupe for certain things, but for beautiful pieces like this, especially pottery, which I have a huge passion for, I will wait. And I have this like manifestation thing that I do, or technique, I guess I should say. And I just like keep searching, or like save ones that I find even if they're out of my price range. And one day I was on eBay and I was just like, oh, let's see if there's any on here. And this one came up at an unbelievable price, and I actually offered lower and they countered, and I accepted. I was like, I'm never gonna find a Tian bowl like this in this size too. And you could do so many different things with this. Nowadays, we could use it in the garden to collect tomatoes and bring it up to the house. I could use it on the dining table as a centerpiece, or just like off to the side here. It could be used as to hold, wine bottles with ice in it for a party. But back then, people used it I think they used some of these, there are smaller ones that were used for dough, I think, or milk and washing. Gosh, there were a lot of different uses for these bowls. Right here is our bar area, and typically, people actually have like a bar cart or something like that, but I wanted something different. I wanted something with maximum storage, just something unique. And a dresser is such a cool way to hold wine, or just like stuff you don't want people seeing in general. Like, just throw it in the drawer and call it a day. Like, don't worry about it. I've got like linens in here. There isn't any alcohol in there yet, but yeah, it's a cool storage piece, and a conversation piece as well. And up top, we've got a couple printed images that are dear to us, the kings. And yeah, it's just a really fun corner. I love it. In this corner area, I had a tough time trying to figure out what to put here because it's such a small spot, and small corners in general are kind of tricky. Like, what do you put there? Like a hanging plant or like a floor vase or something. But I really wanted to be able to showcase books. I love books and I love the way they look. I love the way interior design books look, especially, old garden ones. But yeah, so I found this accent table console thing on Marketplace. Everything is from Marketplace. So I found this on Marketplace, and it needs a little bit of work. We have to be careful when we open the drawers here. But it works. Like I keep keys in here, or we've got like, the stain treater for the boys, different odds and ends that are in there. I replaced the hardware that was on here because it was very dark and you just couldn't really see it very much, and it just didn't really stand out to me, and I wanted something to pop against the mahogany color of the console. So yeah, below I've just got some I've got a gourd piece that I thrifted here in town. I do think that I'm not quite sure if it's how old it is, but I just really love the pattern to it. It kind of reminds me of a zebra. But a couple decor books there, and cookbooks. Up top here on this cookbook here, which I really love, green is my favorite color, which is, you probably would never know because we don't have a lot of green, but I wanted it to stand out here. But on top of it is this beautiful vase that's got curled legs. It's a crystal glass vase, and I found this on eBay. I saw it in a designer's home online, who I just really am just enamored by their talent, and they often collect just like the most beautiful crystal pieces. And all I did was search the image, which is a really good trick. If you don't know the name of something, or you can't find something from a brand, if you have access to take a picture of it, take a picture of it and put it into Google, and all these searches will come up. And eBay had several of them, different versions, but this was the one that I wanted, and it was a massive steal. So yeah, I use it for water. I typically use it for flowers though, but yeah, I love it. And then on this wall here, I've got two really, really, really beautiful African masks that I got from the same antique shop in Eau Claire that I got the antique botanicals from. Antique Emporium is the name of the shop. And I just love, again, like the mask in the entryway, the deep brown and the lighter brown areas is just like, oh yeah, I like this one on the eyes is the same as one in the front. How funny. It's just really beautiful. Adds texture and warmth, and also just speaks to, Black culture. So it wasn't until, honestly, I realized that I was going to be a stay-at-home mom. I wasn't in school anymore. I was going to school part-time, but then I got pregnant and realized, well, that's not the direction that I should be going with two little ones coming. I think knowing that I was going to be at home 24/7 in this big box by myself, with two babies to have conversations with, I wanted it to feel like me. I wanted to feel safe and comforted and, just at ease. And I want to look at pretty things all day aside from dirty diapers. So my design style, I would say, is just a mixture of everything. Cottagecore, British, primitive, vintage, antique. Also just a mixture of a blend of things that make me feel safe and seen and comforted. I think that's a style too. Making your home, a safe haven refuge, by including different eras or cultural pieces. This is our kitchen, and I honestly, I pinch myself every time I come in here because it's just so different than what it was when we moved in. So we did do a little light renovation. Over here on the back wall, there were cabinets on the wall, close up to the ceiling, and they were almost this color of this basket, really dark. And then below, the cabinets were the same color as well. Just a super dingy counter space and a massive kitchen island on the wall opposite. Because there's only one window in here, it doesn't let in a lot of natural light. And I need light when I'm cooking. I love to cook. I'm a baker as well. So I was like, we need to knock things down. So we knocked down the cupboards and painted the lowers. We added butcher block counter top, a new sink, and painted it white because it was a tan color in here. And then just recently, just to kind of draw the eye to different levels, and in a way it opens up the space more. We added some plates on the wall and then a pot rack suspending from the ceiling, which is super fun and cool. And it really made this side of the kitchen stand out in a good way. Before, I didn't enjoy cooking, and now I feel like I feel like I can enjoy myself, standing over the stove, stirring in a pot or something, and, walk over and open the cafe curtains and look out at the kids playing. And I can see now there's a light here now. But yeah, it's just super cozy, just like I wanted it. We didn't have this island before. So this actually wasn't an island. It's another special piece. It was actually an antique dresser that had 6 drawers. So I removed the bottom 2 drawers because I wanted to be able to just set some cookbooks in there. These ones are just vintage, like bread books, really, really old recipes. I think it's really fun. So I added a couple slabs of, I think this is like plywood or MDF board. I have yet to paint the inside, but I painted it. Another vintage antique piece that I painted, but I can count on one hand, so it's okay. But I wanted to still keep the space open and bright. This was very dark, the color of the inside of the bottom here. So it still felt really closed off. And because it's such a big piece, a substantial piece, with the dark tone and it being so big, it was just like, no, like a brighter color is gonna do the trick and open it up. So I painted it the same color, which is from Farrow and Ball. I just had it color matched. And then the top of it, I really love this. This is a quartz slab that was gifted to me actually from a dear friend off of social media, and it's very, very, very special to me. They just remodeled their incredible home, and their kitchen is just adorned in this stone, and they had extra, and she knew that I was wanting a marble slab for the counter, or for the island, sorry. So yeah, it's perfect. Like, I know a lot of people have marble everywhere, like marble countertops and the marble island, but I think it really helps break things apart and kind of like sections things off in a way. And it plays really well with the peel and stick, if you can believe it, peel and stick floor tile that we have, which is like a faux marble print. Behind here is the coffee station. So this was a blank wall, but it had a massive rolling kitchen island that sat out to about here, and it had a deep lip on it that I think they used like as a bar top with stools. So we obviously got rid of that. It's now my husband's. It sits in the garage. He uses it to work on his bikes out there. But I wanted just a really sweet coffee station and a place where I could also display, thrifts from the years that I've collected and found. And I really am in love with Devil's Kitchen's brass rail, but not the price. So I just found a way to DIY. This is just a copper rod from Menards, and I ordered some really beautiful brass brackets to hold it up here from Etsy, a small shop on Etsy. The shelves, these are just plain old 2x12 boards from Menards that I stained in the same wax as the dining table, actually, the Fids and Sons wax. And yeah, I love it. It's like a mini coffee shop, honestly. Like, it's so fun and cozy, and I love being able to, like, you know, it's functional down below, but then I can change things up top in terms of style. Below, this is where the microwave is. I am just, you know, there are certain appliances that I'm okay with seeing, like, you know, the fridge and the stove. But microwave and like dishwasher, those gotta go. So I found a way to really just kind of mask them and hide them, but it's still being functional. So I got this fabric. It's just a really lightweight fabric from Joann Fabrics, and sewed a little pocket at the top and just kind of jimmied these curtain rods onto this. This is like an IKEA stand from Marketplace. And yeah, we just slide it open, and it has 3 drawers in there that we also keep some kitchen storage in. But yeah, it just adds a little fun little effect, I guess. And then we also did it over here with the dishwasher. So I know it's not everybody's thing, but I don't want to see it. So coming back around the house is the back deck. The deck was already here and built when we bought the house, which was a major plus. It was done beautifully. We actually just added this absolutely incredible pergola. It's by a brand named Toya Grid, and they're Canadian based, and they sell these really awesome, just beastly brackets, and you just get the wood, and it's so simple to put together. But it just adds such a like cool vibe, and honestly is like another room to the house. But I do like to entertain when I can, which is right now very rare with 2 toddlers. But I also found this on Marketplace recently, a trestle style table. This is actually from Mexico. On here, I kind of did, I'm super into Pinterest and decorating, and I found this style on there that I wanted to try and recreate. And we always have potted just sweet little plants out here on the deck during the summertime. But this year I wanted to take advantage of my sweet neighbor across the road. She has 2 really beautiful hydrangea, one hydrangea bush and a hydrangea tree, and they just produce like the most incredibly beautiful and sized hydrangeas. I'm actually hoping to have a little birthday celebration, and I think this is how I'm gonna style it, just like this with the hydrangeas. Thanks so much for coming to our home, Homeworthy. See you next time.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.